my body count is 10.
Oh, damn. Okay, so here's the real question. Do I lie or do I say the truth? Okay, yeah. Mine's, I think it's like 13, I would say. I think, yeah.
So like 4.
Multiply it by 3 and that's the real number.
So 12?
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. So I have this interview. Well, it's not an interview. Let me correct that. TikTok, where all intelligence and things go to die. And this woman is, number one, she validates what we've always said about dating, which is if you're tall or attractive, or many of you have even say if you're Caucasian, you have a dating advantage. And number two, she's angry because he knows that he's attractive and has tons of options, and she's dating him. So she should feel lucky, right? But she doesn't. Why? Because he has other options. And maybe she doesn't have as many. But this is what we talk about time after time after time, where women will chase a guy that doesn't pay attention to them, that knows he has options, so he doesn't try very hard. He's probably not a very good boyfriend. Maybe he is. I'm just guessing, but... And he's like, look, do what I want or I'll bounce. I have tons of options. And in the meantime, you can say, well, that's not very fair. It isn't. But in the meantime, there are plenty of guys that would be great boyfriends and would probably love her to death, but she doesn't even look at them or give them a second chance. So we're gonna play this video here and go down through this. But the first sentence it says on the screen, says, it seems especially skewed towards tall men. Well, let's give her a prize.
Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for her, Johnny?
Yeah, no kidding. So here we go. Let's get into this.
Tall, conventionally good-looking, aka I'd say like chiseled jaw lines, and guys who photograph really well, often white men. But it's still really off-putting sometimes to just hear this reconfirmed. My ex is within that category.
Okay, I didn't realize that she said, because I watched this like a week ago and I just haven't gotten around to it. I didn't realize she said her ex. So she says he's tall, he's good looking, he's very photogenic, and he falls into this category, and he's an ex. He just had a little bit of fun and moved along. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, she's decidedly average, I will say.
And he was the person who I posted the video who went on 150 dates. Yesterday, I was with a couple of my guy friends who are pretty good looking guys, but they're 5'7", they're more, I'd say, average, and they are minorities. And we were having a conversation with him, and they were just joking and saying, oh, like it must be pretty easy, you know, for guys who are really tall and white like you. Is that true? And then he wouldn't respond at the time, but he kind of smirked. And then when we got back and it was just him and I, we had a conversation where I asked him about it. I was like, so...
Okay, let me pause it right here for a second. Her bias is in her own words. So I was talking to some friends of mine who are pretty good looking, but they were 5'7". Wait, didn't she say they were pretty good looking? They were 5'7". Okay, I'm going to have to pause this a little bit more, guys, because I want to comment on what she says, but I want to make sure I remember her words accurately. So she says, yesterday I was with a couple of my guy friends who are pretty good looking guys.
Guys, but they're 5'7", they're more, I'd say, average.
Okay. They're pretty good looking guys, but they're 5'7", so they're average. Okay, average height for a man is taller than 5'7", but they're very good looking guys. So in her mind, they're good looking, but they're shorter, so somehow that averages out to average, I guess. And also, she herself even admits her own bias.
And they are minorities.
And they are minorities. She's equating that into her dating calculation. Otherwise, she wouldn't have even mentioned it. She's the one that added this on here. Now understand, she herself is a minority.
And we were having a conversation with him, and they were just joking and saying, oh, like it must be pretty easy, you know, for guys who are really tall and white like you. Is that true? And then he wouldn't respond at the time, but he kind of smirked. And then when we got back and it was just him and I, we had a conversation where I asked him about it. I was like, so is it true? And he said, Yeah, so I'll put it this way. If I were to go on the apps tonight, and this is like 10 o'clock, I would be able to get a date by tomorrow.
Confirmation. Confirmation from him, which we know this. Confirmation from him that, yeah, I'm tall, I'm good looking, I'm Caucasian, which I don't know if that weighs in or not, but many of you out there have told me that it does. And I think there's been some studies that all women seem to prefer Caucasian men, except black women. They seem to prefer their brothers. So there is some confirmation to it. And he's like, yeah. She said she did a video about dating 150 guys. Was that him or her? I don't know. But he's like, yeah, I could get a date by tomorrow. How many of you guys have been on the dating apps? And this is why I say get off of them unless you are of that top 5 or 10%. How many of you guys have been on the dating apps? And you're like, I don't even get a like, but maybe once or twice a week. And a lot of times they don't respond to my first comment, or they just unmatch, or they turn out to be a horrible person, or they turn to be a bot, or they turn out to be a professional. Like, there's always something. But she's dating this guy, and she's bothered by the fact that other women find the qualities that she likes about him also attractive. Well, isn't that shocking?
And the whole air of this, the way it was said, the entitlement, the bragging nature, it was just so off-putting. But what was really sad about this is that, like, I know it's true.
Okay. And again, I'm not interrupting this for any copyright anything. It's because I got a lot to say about this. So him acting this way is kind of entitled, and he had a smirk, and him being like this really bothers her. But then she comes around and says, but I also know it's true. Is it the fact that he knows he has these opportunities? Is that what's bothering her? More than likely. What a woman like this really wants is she wants the winner. She wants the good-looking, tall, athletic, beautiful man that's got a great income. She wants him all to herself. And not realizing that guy has so many options. And she knows it. She says, I know it's true. But she wants him to feel like he's got a catch in her, and he's never going to leave her. And now, again, recall, she said her ex. So what did he do? He either found her insufferable, he realized he could probably date somebody better looking than her, or he just got bored, and he's got lots of opportunities. And she knows it's true. Now, what will be the takeaway? Nothing. She'll still continue to date the same kind of man because they all do.
And we all know it's true, right? Like,
yes, we all know it's true.
Guys who are in their early 30s, who look a certain way and are above 5'10", do really, really well in the new age of dating. They are able to just line up dates. And it doesn't really matter if the values don't match up, because, for instance, for him, he doesn't want to have kids. And you would think that'd be a big restriction, like he puts it on his app profile anyways, and especially in this area, which is in the South, where I think a lot of women conventionally want to have kids. But his last two exes, both want kids, and they still went on dates with him.
What about you? You notice she said we didn't want kids, or I don't want kids. She said he doesn't want kids. She doesn't mention anything about herself. And she brings up, so more than likely, maybe she does want kids. And the two exes that were dating him, they do want kids, but he didn't, and they still dated him. Why? Because they don't care about long-term values. They don't care if he's a good man. They don't care if he's going to be a good provider someday. They don't care if he's kind or loving. They care that he's hot. It's not about dating. It's about hookups. It's about casually dating. And so even though the values may not align, the women can't help themselves. They still go out with him. They still give him the opportunity. They know, as a matter of fact, he's probably going to bounce like all the other guys have. This girl knew it too. Did they say no? Nope. They still went ahead because they're like, you know what? I'll date him for a few months. He's hot. He's attractive. I like being seen with him. It's eventually I'll get one of these guys to stick with me and stay with me. And that process repeats until the women become too old or too damaged or too undesirable. And then Then they just decide to go on parades and yell about feminism.
And it's almost sadder to see like women just kind of tolerate this because like attraction, and especially immediate attraction, is so difficult to find. And I'm certainly guilty of that myself.
Well, there we are. There we are right there. I'm going to replay this part so I can hit this. It's almost sadder to see women just kind of tolerate this because attraction, especially immediate attraction, is so difficult to find. And I'm certainly guilty of that myself. She literally tells you right to your face what is going on in dating. It's sad to see everybody chase after a hot guy that everybody wants. All these women chase after him, and they have nothing in common with him. All they do is it's just a short fling hookup, or it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm guilty of that myself because this is one of her exes. She dated him too. Now, in the meantime, what's he doing? He's got an ex that he slept with and another ex that he slept with and this one that he slept in, and he's obviously moved on to another one that he's sleeping with. And why would that guy ever settle down, ever? He can probably be in his early 50s and still be doing this with women in their 20s if he's really good looking. I can't think of but you get, I mean, Tom Cruise is a little bit on the shorter side, but, you get somebody like a Brad Pitt, who's athletic, has a good look to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't think, I don't know many actors, so I seem to use the same 5 all the time. But you take a guy that is, one of the good-looking actors that is in his 50s, but instead of being an actor, he is maybe, I don't know, a guy that does very well for himself, and he's still going to be just as tall as he ever was. And if he keeps himself in shape and he doesn't have, his face doesn't get wrinkled up like a prune, he's going to be slamming 20-somethings too. Those men have the gambit of all the women, and she knows it. She's just mad that he didn't pick her, like all of them are.
Certainly guilty of that myself. It's just, I don't know what the solution is to this. Certainly it's not to encourage entitled jerks like this in terms of their behavior, but it's also, again, just the world in which we live in. And this is why I think a lot...
He's an entitled jerk. He's an entitled jerk. But she dated him. Why did she date an entitled jerk? Because she didn't vet him. She didn't find out what he was like. She just wanted to sleep with him because he was hot. And then he's a jerk. He just kind of used me for a while and dumped me. Shocking. And she's like, well, how do we fix this? Date an average guy. That's how you fix it. To all these women out there, how do you fix this? Stop sleeping around so much. Stop being just a notch on the belt to the bad boys, the good-looking guys, right? And while you still have youth and beauty, which is fading for this woman, find a guy that will love you. That's how you fix this. But it's oblivious to her because she doesn't want to be the one that decides, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I am going to find a good average guy. And then I'll settle down and then I'll be happy. No. She wants all the other women. I don't think she comes right out and says this because it's been like a couple weeks since I listened to this. She wants all the other women to stop sleeping with just chasing after the good-looking, tall, amazing guys and them to pick the average guy so she can have it. And that's what all the other women think. And what happens? Nothing changes.
The world in which we live in. And this is why I think a lot of selfish behavior has come from men in terms of, no longer feeling like they have to be a gentleman or really have to woo any women because they don't like you. They just go back on and they'll find a date in the next hour.
It's because they don't have to. It's because they don't have to be gentlemen. Because they can find a date in the next hour. They don't have to give a crap about you. And you fell victim to it just like all the other women did. All of them, including you. And now you're upset. And now you call him an entitled jerk. And now you call him up. What did she call him here exactly? Let me see. It's why I think a lot of selfish behavior has come from certain men. Yes, Yes. Do you know why? Because you're selfish. You women started this selfishness. You said, I don't want an average guy. I don't want a guy that's average income or average height or average looks or average athleticism. I want the best for me. Why? Because you're selfish. These women are selfish. And so because of that, this guy says, hey, I can be selfish too. The difference is, see, women control when the bedroom happens, men control when the relationship happens. Well, you chose the bedroom as early, often, without vetting him, and he chose the relationship as never. And that's why he's selfish. That's why he's the jerk, because she said, I gave you access to my body and you didn't tie it down. You decided to bounce and find somebody else. And his answer is like, yeah, I don't want to. Sorry for the cut there. I had the dog start barking crazy over something and I lost my train of thought. Anyway, the whole point is these women are selfish. They are the ones that enable all this stuff because all of them are giving themselves to 10 or 20% of men or 5% of men, thinking they're going to be the ones to win him. Then they don't, like all the other ones don't. And he moves on, and then these women become bitter and angry. And they're going to do it right up until it's too late. Right up until it's too late, just like all the other women do. And then all men are pigs. All men are users. All men are awful. All men are just doing whatever, sleeping around and then running off. All men. And what's their reference? The 5 or 10% of men they've actually dated, because they won't settle for less. So you want to know whose fault this is? It's yours, lady. Yours and every other woman like you that allows these men to just maybe act like jerks. Maybe they are acting like jerks. But he's having no problems. Why? Because women don't care if they're jerks or not. He's hot. He's bangable. I want to do him. And I'll convince him to love me. And in the end, they don't convince him. He moves on and they just get pissed. No surprises. Guys, we're going to do dating profile of the day. If you're on Rumble and or YouTube, make sure to join us on betterbachelor.locals.com. We're going to do dating profiles of the day. And don't forget, every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do movie nights. This past week, we did John Wick 1 and 2. This upcoming week, we're going to be doing Cobra from the 1990s, I think, and Big Trouble in Little China. So make sure to join us on betterbachelor.locals.com today.